Joseph Schleifstein, a boy who, at just 4 years old, survived hell on earth, Buchenwald concentration camp. Welcome to this channel, the home of stories that don't just move your heart, but ignite your soul. Here, we don't just tell you to be strong, we show you the meaning of strength. We believe in the human spirit's power to survive the worst and still shine with purpose. Every story we bring you is a light in the dark, a reminder that you were born to rise, to endure, and to thrive, no matter what life throws your way. So buckle up, because today's story will shake you, break you, and rebuild you. It's not fiction, it's the truth. And it's about one of the youngest survivors of the Holocaust, Joseph Schleifstein, a boy who, at just 4 years old, survived hell on earth, Buchenwald concentration camp. Let that sink in. A child, barely able to spell his name, born into a world on fire, and yet he made it. Today, you'll learn how. You'll learn what kind of will it takes to survive when the odds are stacked impossibly against you. And most importantly, you'll understand what it means to live, truly live, after surviving the unthinkable. Joseph Schleifstein was born in 1941 in Sandomierz, Poland. For most of us, childhood means laughter, toys, cartoons, birthday candles. But for Joseph, childhood meant hiding, running, whispering when he wanted to scream. His father, Israel Schleifstein, was a rabbi, respected, devout, and deeply rooted in tradition. His mother, Esther, held her little boy close as the world around them grew colder and more dangerous with each passing month. You see, Joseph was born into a world ruled by hate. Nazi Germany had occupied Poland, and with them came laws and policies designed to wipe out people like Joseph simply because they were Jewish. At just 2 years old, Joseph was forced into the Sandomierz ghetto with his family, a cramped, dirty, cruel place where food was scarce and hope was even rarer. But even there, the small sparks of love and humanity flickered. Joseph's parents did everything they could to protect him. They sang him lullabies at night, told him stories to keep him from noticing the soldiers outside, and tried, desperately, to shield his innocent eyes from the horror creeping closer and closer. But there's only so much you can do when you're fighting against genocide. By 1943, deportations from the ghetto had begun. The Nazis were sending Jews to labor camps and worse, to death camps. Joseph's parents knew it was only a matter of time. And then the day came. The family was captured and sent to Buchenwald, one of the largest and most notorious concentration camps in Nazi Germany. It wasn't built to hold toddlers. It was built to break men. But somehow Joseph got in and stayed alive. He was just 4 years old. When they arrived at Buchenwald, Joseph's father knew what the SS officers would do if they saw his son. Children weren't allowed to live. They were deemed unfit for labor and sent straight to their deaths. So in the chaos, with the roar of German barking, gunshots, and barking dogs in the background, Israel did something impossible. He hid his child in a sack. Yes, a human child. Hidden in a sack among prisoners' belongings, smuggled into a death camp under the noses of the most brutal regime in modern history. And it worked. But the fight for survival had only just begun. At Buchenwald, Joseph and his father faced conditions most of us cannot imagine. Hunger so sharp it stabbed you from the inside. Cold that felt like knives. Death all around. People were worked to the bone, then thrown away like garbage. But somehow, this tiny child survived. How? Part of it was luck. But part of it, maybe the biggest part, was the strength and love of his father and the quiet compassion of others who risked their lives to help a little boy stay hidden. At first, Joseph was kept entirely out of sight. His father and other inmates carved out a hiding spot in the barracks, behind brick walls, under beds, in the dark corners of despair. When SS guards approached, Joseph would crouch and go silent like a ghost. But he wasn't a ghost. He was very much alive. A heartbeat in the middle of a slaughterhouse. A living contradiction in a place meant for death. But even in this pit of horror, something amazing happened. The prisoners, hard, starving men, began to protect Joseph. He became like a camp mascot, a symbol of innocence in a place where innocence was a death sentence. They tailored a small uniform for him from scraps, like the striped prison clothes they all wore. And when the guards weren't watching, Joseph would march with the prisoners in line. A tiny boy, matching steps with broken men. Imagine the sight. a child barely old enough to tie his shoes, pretending to be a soldier in a prison of pain. And yet he smiled. He smiled. Why? Because children are resilient in ways we can't explain. Because hope doesn't die easy, not even in Buchenwald. As the months passed, the prisoners did all they could to feed Joseph in secret, to keep him warm, to keep him human. One story tells of how he would stand up and shout, "Hitler is a fool." A dangerous act of rebellion if overheard. But among the inmates, it was a moment of laughter in a place that had forgotten joy. Joseph gave them something to believe in, that if this child could survive, maybe they could too. But danger was never far. The guards were always looking. Suspicion was constant. If Joseph were discovered, not only would he be killed, but those who helped him would be punished, or worse. Every day was a balancing act between hope and terror. Yet, Joseph's spirit never wavered. He was, in every sense, a fighter, not with fists or weapons, but with will, with courage, with silence when he needed to be invisible, and with joy when the darkness briefly lifted. Then, one day in April 1945, everything changed. The Allied forces were closing in. The Nazis knew their time was up. Inside Buchenwald, panic spread. SS officers began to destroy records, kill prisoners, and flee. But before they could erase every trace of their crimes, American troops stormed the camp. And there, among the skeletal figures, among the horror and the ash, they found a little boy, still alive, still breathing. Standing in his tiny striped uniform, Joseph Schleifstein became one of the most unforgettable images of the Holocaust end. Imagine being a soldier, expecting to find only death, and instead finding a child. A boy who shouldn't have been there, who by all logic should have died years ago. But he lived, because his father loved him, because strangers risked everything, because even in hell, some flames don't burn out. After the camp was liberated, Joseph was taken into care by U.S. forces. He even traveled with them for a while, the smiling, curious boy in the army jeep, waving to villagers as they passed. His image was published in newspapers around the world. For many, he became a symbol of survival, proof that the human spirit could not be crushed, proof that even the smallest candle can shine through the darkest night. Joseph eventually moved to the United States with his family. He grew up, built a life, married, had children of his own. For many years, he stayed silent about his past. The pain was too deep, the memories too raw. But later in life, he began to speak, to share what he had been through. Not to shock, but to teach, to remind the world of what hate can do and what love can conquer. So what can we learn from Joseph Schleifstein? That you're never too small to make an impact. That even when life strips you of everything, your home, your freedom, your family, you can hold on to your humanity. That surviving is not just about luck or strength. It's about courage. The courage to live, to hope, to believe when there's no reason left to believe. Joseph's story isn't just about history. It's about you. Right now, you might be going through your own version of Buchenwald, a mental war, a financial collapse, a betrayal, an illness, and you might feel like there's no way out. But let this story remind you, you are not done. If a child can walk through fire and come out smiling, then you, yes, you, can get through today, and tomorrow, and the next. Pain is real. So is fear. But so is resilience. So is the will to survive. And so is the hope that after every storm, there's still a sunrise waiting to rise. If this story touched your heart, if Joseph Schleifstein's courage lit a fire inside you, then join us on this journey. This channel is about real strength, about people who didn't give up, even when the world gave up on them. So hit that subscribe button right now, not just for more stories, but for your own transformation. Every video here is a reminder that you were made to endure, made to overcome, made to shine. And if Joseph could do it at 4 years old inside the worst place imaginable, then what excuse do we have not to fight for our lives? Stay strong, stay human, stay hopeful, and we'll see you in the next video.